everybody, welcome to this week's edition of The Verdict, in which we are going to major on York's Dante meeting. But we've also got a very interesting two-year-old to look at from Leopardstown. But the Dante meeting takes centre stage, and we start on the first day, which was last Wednesday. The ground was officially described as good to firm, good in places for the opening day. And I think that was just about right. It might have been a little bit easier than that, according to the official times. Here are the winners and the times. Al Mosher taking the opening contest. Rousing encore for Ruth Carr. Inisherin, have a look at him in a minute, in the 3:13 over 6 furlongs. That was a good time. Whirl took the Musidora. We'll look at that as well. Rare Change, Ballistic Missile and Great Bedouin, the other winners on the card. Those times are not too bad at all. They were suggestive of good ground, maybe slightly quicker. And that's what the Race IQ Time Index suggests as well. These scores out of 10, of course, they're a little bit low, which perhaps points us more in the direction of good ground than good to firm ground. And the Inisherin score, 4.1 out of 10. It's okay, it's an all right time. 4.8 was the best time, and that was the Musidora and Whirl. The average for the meeting, 3.5, quite low, really. Perhaps you'd have expected slightly quicker times than those. So that's probably indicative of how the conditions were riding. Let's start with Inisherin then. Race number 3, stall number 1. Beats Flora of Bermuda from 2 and Night Raider from stall 3. Low draws on the sprint course, of course. Generally very important at York. And this was a race that was really strongly run in the early part, courtesy of Oisin Murphy on the very fast Night Raider. 11.28 for the first furlong. And then 2 sub-11s he went out in front, 10.74 and 10.93. There was no hiding place out there. He really was rolling along Night Raider. He paid for it late on. He weakened into third spot, only just clinging on to that. He might be a Nunthorpe horse for later in the year, coming back to 5 furlongs. Now, we'll stop it here and identify Inisherin and the slightly unlucky Flora of Bermuda, who's stuck in behind horses at this stage and will struggle for a run for a while and throws down a big challenge to Inisherin, who, courtesy of the strong pace, is off the bridle quite a long way out, niggled along, looking for a run up the rail. Final 2 furlongs for the winner, even, 24.17. Not flash at all, just keeping on better than all of the rivals. And look at the finishing speed percentage, 97.48. Inisherin is slowing down compared to the rest of the race, but he's able to just cling on from Flora of Bermuda, who thrusts now, looks like he's going to win, but Inisherin finds a bit more under Ryan Moore to just get back up in the closing stages. The final couple of furlongs, 24.17 for the winner, 24.03 for Flora Bermuda, so came home stronger than Inisherin. But Inisherin had a slightly better track position, and Flora Bermuda made inroads from behind whilst meeting trouble, and that's why she was a little bit quicker through the final 2 furlongs than Inisherin, because she had to bridge the gap between the two of them. And they pulled a few lengths clear of Night Raider, with elite status, staying on okay in the closing stages. Brazen speed from Night Raider out in front under Oisin Murphy. He's been a very exciting horse on the all-weather this winter, and there could be more to come from him on that surface. But Inisherin, Commonwealth Cup winner last year, heading for the Jubilee at Royal Ascot now after this performance. Coming home evenly, 12.43 the final furlong, just rated as par as against the Race IQ sectionals, and that was enough to get the job done on his seasonal reappearance. One note for people that like paddock and down at the start stuff, he got very sweaty and very worked up, but that is just him. That's how he behaves. So if that happens again, no need to worry about it, no need to fret, because that's what he does. He gets himself a little bit on edge before his races. Kevin Ryan was relieved. He said he was only 80% fit, and Inisherin, on that basis, is definitely going to go well at Royal Ascot in that Jubilee. Okay, let's turn our attentions to the Mucidora last Wednesday. And it's provided a very interesting contest, this, in terms of all of the data. The winner was Whirl from 5, Serenity Prayer from 4 was second, Go-Go Boots was third from stall number 1. Look how aggressive Ryan Moore is from the gates. He really wants this filly to go forward and be part of the early pace. She was stepping up in trip here, but what Ryan did there at the start suggests that they have no doubts about her stamina at this 10 furlong trip. Second fastest to get to 20 miles an hour, it took her 2.33 seconds. And Ryan, whilst he just took back a little bit off the pace that was set by Tati Coram, he was happy to sit very handy in the early part of the race. Now, this is a race of two halves, really. The first 3 furlongs are rated as fast or very fast as against the Race IQ par. So it's a bit upside down, this contest. They've gone fast early on, and then they've got tired, even the winner did, and they've slowed down considerably through the final 3 furlongs. So it was a very strongly run race. It was a proper test of stamina at 10 furlongs. For example, Whirl had to run 12:09 in the second furlong, and just to sit handy, she had to go 11:66 through the third furlong. She's got a bit of tactical pace because she was able to do that furlong no problem at all, and now she's in a good position at York to attack. After those first 3 fast furlongs, they ran par for the next 2, and then they started to get a little bit tired as against par through the final 5 furlongs. But it was the 7th furlong where she just found a little bit to go to the lead. She went 11:91 to push herself forward here, and then 11:98, and that took her to the front, and then she stays on really well. Look at her finishing speed percentage. It's only 100.61. That would suggest she's been rated evenly by Ryan, but normally at York you'd expect them to finish quite strong over this trip. 105.17 is the par, so she's under par, but she has come home evenly. Her last 2 furlongs, though, tell you that this was a test of stamina and she was getting tired. 12:35, followed by 13 seconds dead through the final furlong. So that was a very slow furlong as against par. So she's getting a bit tired, but look how well strung out they are. This was a proper test of stamina. It was run a bit upside down, fast then slow, but nonetheless, it really did show us that Whirl will, I think, stay 1.5 miles going forward. She may go to the Oaks. The Prix d'Anne was mentioned afterwards by Connections, and that may be more likely at this stage, given that she's a 10-to-1 shot for the Oaks. But this was a taking performance from her, the best time index, according to Race IQ, of the day, and that's courtesy of that strong early gallop. In behind, there was a bit of trouble in running for Go-Go Boots, having a bit of a barging match with Tati Coram early in the straight, but it didn't make any difference. This filly was way too good. This tells you how it was run as against par. You can see those first 3 furlongs are quick for the whole of the field, very fast the third furlong. They then settled into a bit of a rhythm and they ran par for furlongs 4 and 5. Then as against par, they were slowing down a little bit latterly and getting tired, courtesy of that strong early gallop. I think she'll stay. I think she has got a bit of tactical pace, but if you had to say what was her main asset, I think she's a galloper, and I think she'll stay 1.5 miles. She's got a lovely pedigree, and if they were to have a crack at the Oaks, she'd be a lively contender. Day 2 of the Dante meeting featured the big race itself, the Dante. It was run on ground very similar officially to day 1, and the times would suggest that it perhaps was just a little bit nearer good than good to firm, but not too far off it. There were slightly better times on day 2 than on day 1. American Affair, he's a really good sprinter in the making. Handicaps no more for him. Old Cock, See the Fire, we'll have a look at her. Pride of Arras won the Dante. That time was just okay. See the Fire's time was very good. Tropical Storm, First Legion, and Merchant, the other winners on the card. Nobody breaking the Racing Post standard on day 2. What about the time indexes? Let's have a look. And well, you've got that 4.6 over 1.25 miles. And the 1.25 mile races have been good on the card. 4.6 therefore. See the Fire, best time on the card by some way. This is an incredibly taking performance from See the Fire, who was backed off the boards for this. She came from stall 4. She beat Beautiful Love from 6, Royal Dress from 5, Ambiente Amigo from 2, who was keen early on. Finished back in 4th spot. She was only 6th quickest to get to 20 miles an hour. I think that's on purpose from Oisin Murphy. She can be keen, this filly. I think he wanted to take a pull and get her settled. You can see there, she's just doing a little bit too much in second last. She's okay, she's settled enough. And she sits in behind what was just an okay gallop. They just went par, really, early on. The leader going through reasonably quick sectionals, but nothing too fast. Doha was the horse in front early on. They went 12.18, 12.08, 12.14, 12.82. But it's when See the Fire picks up in the home straight and pulling 12 lengths clear that she's really, really impressive. I think what she did was not sort of quicken really sharply and go and put her rivals away. She just showed sustained speed in the closing stages. I'm not sure this Middleton Stakes was very strong, but she did what she had to do, and it was really impressive. Her FSP, 102.79, the par is 105.21. So she's 2.79% quicker in the last few furlongs than she was in the other part of the race. And that backs up what I said earlier, that she didn't really quicken and fire 2 sub-11 second furlongs, but she was able to show sustained speed from this point on, furlong 7, where she went 11.88. She backs it up with 11.78, and she backs 11.78 when she's still on the bridle with 11.65. So 3 furlongs of under 12 seconds, consistent speed that she was able to show at this part of the race, and no other horse could do 3 sub-12s in the race. There's that 11.65 through furlong 9. And that sustained speed that she showed takes her clear of some toiling rivals. The race has fallen apart a bit all around her, and she was able to get there on the bridle and just be nudged out in the closing stages for a final 3 furlongs of 36.32. As you might imagine, way quicker than Beautiful Love in second at 38.21. So this wasn't a case of her cruising into it under Oisin Murphy and then changing her legs and quickening away like a wild horse. This was about sustained speed, being able to do sub-12 second furlongs and keep going and keep the revs up all the way to the line. There's that time index scrolling on your bottom, meeting average of 2.7, 4.6 for her, and a win time of 2 minutes 9.44, which was 0.9 above the race IQ par for a 1.25 mile race at York on this ground. Impressive, eh? Really visually impressive, and the data tells us that she's got real sustained speed, and that will see her win a big race this season. And I think she'll probably go for the Nassau again. She was narrowly beaten in that last year. Here are the sectionals. Early on, she raced in seventh spot. That's in the brackets there. And then you can see where she suddenly picked up. Furlong 7, 11.88. That just took her to 6th. And then 11.78 for the mile, and that took her into 2nd place. And then again, 11.65. 3 quick furlongs to take her clear of the field and win this for the Andrew Balding team. She really is very good. Life will be tougher in a better race going forward, you would have thought. But that was a tremendously exciting and visually impressive performance. Time to have a look at the big one, the Dante Stakes. The Lion in Winter very well back just before the off, went off at odds on for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore, but didn't win. Pride of Arras was the winner. He came from stall number 2, and he got the better of Demisius, who shaped really well from stall 5, and Wimbledon Hawkeye from 7. Devil's Advocate came out of 6. The Lion in Winter came from stall 4 for information purposes, and is highlighted there. Way too keen under Ryan Moore. He got sweaty down at the start. He's very fresh, and he was doing far too much in the early part of the race, expending energy when others were settling just a little bit better. And it takes Ryan a furlong and a half or so to just get him to drop his head and settle. He's just about got him now. You can just see his sweaty neck there in 5th spot. He's relaxed now, but his race was gone to that stage. Pride of Arras is back against the rail horse number 6, travelling strongly. It's only his 2nd career start, this fella. He was 3rd fastest to 20 miles an hour, so no problems there with the way he comes out of the stalls. And this race overall was quite steadily run, certainly compared to the See the Fire race. Finishing speed percentage for the winner, 108.03. He quickened up pretty well through the final 3 furlongs, and that's better than that par of 105.21 that we're becoming familiar with now. So we had a steadily run affair early on, and it turned into a bit of a dash. You can see Demisius is number 2 there. He's in behind the Lion in Winter. He runs a tremendous race, and he might have made his challenge on the wrong part of the track. So he comes towards the stand side on a day when perhaps it was best to be middle to far side. Those early sectionals steady, 13.32, 12.45, and then they started to pick up. 11.96 for the 7th for the winner, and then just looking for a bit of room, Russell Ryan had to wait for a stride or two. He's able to do an 11.38 through the 8th furlong, rated as fast as against race IQ par, and he backs it up with a good one here. He gets through a gap and does an 11.38, rated as very fast, and he backs it up with another fast furlong at 12.32. This was a bit of a test of speed. It certainly wasn't a test of stamina. Because of the relatively steady early fractions, it turned into a bit of a dash, and this horse has got loads of speed. He sprinted clear the 35.13 final 3 furlongs. But coming from further back, the fastest horse in the race through the final 3 furlongs is the big white face on the left-hand side of your screen, Demisius, who finished in 2nd spot and has surely earned himself a place in the Derby. Now, I think he was on the wrong part of the track, maybe a bit too far back, but he's run on really well in the closing stages. What about the Line in Winter? Not given a hard time by Ryan late on, and he still finished with a finishing speed percentage of 106.99 despite being eased down. I think there's going to be a lot more to come from him. This came a bit soon for him, didn't it? Too fresh, too keen, too full of himself. I think we'll see a different horse next time in the Derby. Here is the data from courtesy of Race IQ telling you how steady it was early on. I mean, if you just look at the winner, Pride of Arras, he wasn't too far off the pace. He's got quite a slow 2nd furlong of 12.96, just gone par 12.56, then a 13.01, a slow furlong then, and then a 13.32 before they started to pick up. So those first 5 furlongs were not red hot at all, and therefore it turned into a sea of green in the closing stages. 2 very fast furlongs from Demisius and Pride of Arras in the penultimate furlong. A test of speed more than stamina, I would say. There he is. Rafe Beckett was effusive about him after the race, and he heads to Epsom for the Derby. He's an exciting young horse, just 2 runs behind him. There could be more to come. OK, let's move on to Friday of last week at the Dante meeting at York. The final day saw a very interesting Boodles Yorkshire Cup, won by Rebels Romance. Look at that time though, as against the Racing Post Standard, 11.28 slow. Times are a little bit slower than on the first 2 days. Here's the Race IQ time index for this meeting, and look at Rebels Romance. 0.1 was all he managed to achieve out of 10. Such was the nature of how this race was run, and a low meeting average of 2.8. But let's analyse why Rebels Romance hasn't achieved a better score than 0.1. It's to do with the run of the race, as it always is. That's why final times are not a good thing to look at necessarily in terms of how races are run, but sectionals are. He came out of stall 2, he beats Epic Poet from 5 and Sweet William from stall number 4. He was quickest out of the stalls, Rebels. He sometimes makes the running, and he's a real pro. He knows his job, and he was quickest away, 2.56 seconds to get to 20 miles an hour. But it was Ryan Moore and Continuous who went on. First time blinkers for Continuous, a very versatile horse who's able to win at 1.25 miles, and he's well, he stays this far, there's no doubt about that. He's disappointing here, though. We've gone to the home straight. Nothing much happened until they turned for home, and then the sprint began. Because they crawled early on, it really was a very slow gallop early. 14.08, 13.92, 13.92, 13.65, the early splits. Now they're sprinting. Furlong 12, 11.05 for Rebels Romance. He's in the light green zone with that. That's a very fast furlong, and he backs it up with 11.24. Coming home very fast. Continuous just beginning to drop away on the far side, and because of the steady gallop, they're all in contention in the closing stages. 12.17 rated as very fast, his final furlong, and when Epic Poet comes thrusting late, he puts his head down and just clings on. This was just a sprint. It was not a staying contest by any stretch of the imagination. The first 6 furlongs were very steady. They didn't really pick it up then in the next 2 or 3. It really was a crawl and a sprint, but 11.07, 11.05, 11.34 and 12.17 got the job done for Rebels Romance. Now, it was interesting that they stepped him up in trip. We didn't learn anything about whether he stays, because this race was simply a dash from 4 out. They may just stick with 1.5 miles for him now. Talk of the Goodwood Cup, but they haven't learned anything about his stamina. Really. Look at those splits. This is just for Rebels Romance. See how steady they are. 14.08 the second, then a 13.92 times 2, a 13.65, etc. So go to the second column, and you can tell exactly where the burn-up starts. 1 mile and 3 furlongs. 11.7, 11.05, 11.35 and 34. Quick sectionals for a stayer. Quick sectionals for a 1.5 mile horse. What a servant this fella's been. I don't think he got the credit he deserved after landing this. He's been a globe-trotting hero for Charlie Appleby and Godolphin. OK, let's move away from York and go to Leopardstown on Friday evening. And I spotted a 2-year-old that I really like, and the data's very positive about him. The name is Italy, and he won the first at Leopardstown. Over 7 furlongs, first 7 furlong race of the season, 133.24 for him. And Banner Beauty, Summer Snow, Fortuna Vera. Kyprios was back with a success in the Saddlebag for 3rd year in a row. Tatum, and not just any eagle. As far as the times were concerned, they weren't too bad at all, really. The average for the meeting was 5.5. They suggested that the ground was very much as described. Good to firm in places. There's Italy's score. Look, he's got a 6. Above the meeting average for a Wootton Bassett debutant. Let's see how he achieved that score over 7 furlongs. I think he's going to be a nice horse going forward, this fella. Look how he's just a bit tardy out of the gates. He's in last spot after they've got about 50 yards or so, and you can see from that it took him 3.04 seconds to get up to 20 miles an hour, only the 6th fastest in the race. And thereafter he's gone forward against the rail, but he's got keen because he's been asked to go forward, and then he just gets a little bit fresh and keen under Wayne Lorden. Meanwhile, up front, they went quite hard for the first furlong or so, and then they steadied it, and that's why Italy started to pull just a little bit, and the Secret Adversary went forward, 12.47 the second furlong, a 12.62 and a 12.69 and a 12.18. So they weren't going mad out there at all. The Secret Adversary, I would say, enjoying something of an easy lead, and it's always a good place to be at Leopardstown on the front end, particularly if you can go the steady fractions that he did. And he establishes an advantage positionally over Italy. Just begins to stretch now as they turn in. What is he, 3-4 lengths clear of Italy, who's in traffic against the rail. And now Italy's going to have to find plenty. The only way he's going to win is if he can quicken up really well to go and get to a horse who's had his own way out in front and got an easy lead. That's what Italy does. 11.57 second penultimate furlong, and then a 12.23 compared to the runner-up, 12.71. And look at this, hands and heels. He surges past. Finishing speed percentage, 108.27. Really good. 8.27% quickest in the last 2 furlongs in the earlier part of the race. He really has quickened up well. The par here, 101.66, 7% above par for a newcomer, when the horse in front of him had got his own way in front and got first run on him. But he's able to make up for that, sprint to get to the Secret Adversary, and then go past pretty readily with that 11.57 and 12.23. That is really impressive from this 2-year-old. And it may be that they'll have a go at the Chesham with him at Royal Ascot. There's his finishing speed percentage, 108.73. Why is that so impressive? Because he's running down a horse who's not stopping. Secret Adversary, 105.92. That one was still going very strongly at the line and hit the line hard. But Italy was too good with that fastest furlong of 11.55. That did the damage. That got him to the Secret Adversary. And then he's won with a bit in hand as well. He looked a little bit green in the closing stages. Nice looking son of a Wootton Bassett who's destined for much bigger things. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's edition of The Verdict. Plenty of very good action at York. There was several races that we could have put in but didn't have the time to do so, but it'll make for good reviewing for you. I do think See the Fire was very good indeed, a decent speed figure. She got in the Middleton Stakes when surging 12 lengths clear. And the Dante Stakes might well have contained the Derby winner. Which one will it be though? That's a tough question to answer. I'll see you next week.
of Spain, quickening on 3 lengths clear, but Phoenix of Spain has made just about all the way up the Tennyson's Irish 2,000 guineas. It's Gerlines' push-button Siskin who's drawing away to land the first ever classic for Colin Keane and Gerlines. Max Sweeney on the first side of Poetic Flair. Max Sweeney and Roaring Cleary, a special day. Native Trail is back on the winning trail in the Tennyson's Irish 2,000 guineas. Huntington is going from strength to strength, wins the 2,000 guineas for Ryan Moonade O'Brien. Brazilian on the stand side, Brazilian and Sean Levy are up in the guineas.
Introducing the new Racing TV Play channel. All of the most memorable action from the Racing TV archives.
The super sub Annie Power has won the Stan James Champion Hurdle.
From classic Cheltenham Roars to great Grand Nationals, unforgettable Epsom Derbies and timeless feature shows, Racing TV Play has all you need to relive some of the greatest days on turf. Racing TV is known as the home of the best British and Irish racing, and our dedicated channel showing the best action from 20 years of broadcasting will bring you the most spine-tingling moments in our sport all over again. Watch Racing TV Play exclusively 24 hours a day on racingtv.com now.
Uplifting performance by Authorised will give Frankie Dettori his first derby.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.